So, lohan, one of its primary functions, obviously, is health, but in particular, it's about longevity. It's about being able to live a really long, healthy life. And it's not like the Taoist idea of immortality, living forever. What they're trying to say there is that you're going to live your life to its fullest for as long as possible. So the last 5 years of your life or 10 years of your life don't just kind of suck. So one of the big things that my teacher, Shifu Chen, talked about was actually this breath regulation that we were doing during the sitting in lohan that I was doing. And it's a very simple but very profound Qigong. So I just want to kind of go over it one more time. So the hand motion is very easy. As I breathe in, my lungs expand, my hands expand. As I breathe out, my lungs contract, my hands contract. That's all there is to it. Okay? There's a couple of really interesting parts about this. First of all of the meridians begin and terminate in all your digits. So by doing this, I'm actually flexing all of them, right? I'm actually giving myself a huge, basically kind of organ massage or meridian massage. And I'm working on my breathing. So I'll tell the story about how he learned this one. It's pretty cool. He had a couple, he's a Chinese doctor, right? So he had this couple come in to his office and they wanted to become his patients. So he did, an intake. And he's doing this whole intake with them and seeing what's going on, seeing what kind of treatments they need. And at the end of it, they're in quite good health. And the gentleman says to my teacher, he's like, "So how old do you think we are?" And Shifu Chen's like, "Well, I'd put you, late 50s, maybe early 60s. And he's like, "Well, I'm 85 and my wife is, 82. And Shifu said he closed the door and was like, "What are you doing?" Like, that doesn't make any sense. And he said that they just practiced this Qigong every day. 10 minutes, that's all they did, was this. This was the thing that they did that kept them in such good health. So this was one of the things that sparked Shifu's real heavy interest in longevity. And through his research, one of the biggest things, which is very cool because it's a very Taoist way of looking at things, is looking at reality and learning something from it. Animals that breathe fast die young. They die quickly. So think about a dog and how fast your dog pants. How long does your dog live? Not so long, right? We outlive all of our pets. And if you look at animals that breathe really slowly, they outlive us. So, like, for instance, the first Qigong we did today was that Gui Xi, right? That turtle breathing. Well, turtles and tortoises breathe really slow, and they can live hundreds of years. So, same thing like at class the other day, I was teaching tree Qigong. Trees breathe once a day, and they can live thousands of years. So if you just kind of look at the way things work, things that breathe slow live a long time. So the idea here is breath regulation is to slow our breathing down. So an average person breathes like between 12 and maybe 16 or 18 times a minute. So what you want to try to get to in a perfect world is 4 to 6 breaths a minute. Okay? So it's really helpful actually to have a physical manifestation of that because you can sort of time yourself with your hands. So when you're doing your meditation, and especially if you're having a hard time, like my mind is always busy, it's always trying to go this and that place, this gives you two things to focus on, right? My breathing and what my hands are doing and how they're related. What's that relationship between those two things? So if your mind starts to wander, it's easy to go back to go, where are my hands? What's going on? Right? Because I've got something physical taking place. And you can slow your breathing down very, very considerably. It's taken me a long time to get any good at this one, but it's really useful. When Shifu Chen taught me this, he actually handed me his watch, and he's, timed me, and he was down to 2 breaths a minute. And he's just sitting there, 2 breaths a minute, and like the guy was almost dead. But he's over 70 years old and bangs arms with huge rooms of young people and works 5-6 days a week still. It's obvious what's going on and how useful it's been to him. Does that make sense? So you don't have to do that in the sitting in between all of the lohan, but it's a really powerful Qigong. And there's one other part I wanted to mention, which I think is really interesting. When we're born, our fists are clenched. And when we die, this happens. That's actually one of the things that one of my friends is a paramedic. He said that's one of the signs they look at in car accidents. One of the first things they look at is what the person's hands are doing. Because if their hands are doing this, they're dying. So this is like life and death in every single breath. And that's quite a profound thing to put your body through over and over and over again. So it's studying a lot more relationships other than just breathing. Cool?